Welcome to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, entrepreneur, investor, and business strategist. Why are we here? Because iron sharpens iron, and when we bring industry leaders, investors, entrepreneurs who are really rocking it in the space to share what's working in business and maybe even some of what's not, we're all able to learn and grow. As a result, our businesses grow. And the ripple effect impacts not only ourselves, our families, our teams, and theirs, but also our communities and our world. Today, you are in for a treat because we are going to dive deep into the power of visual storytelling, crafting your brand's narrative. It's so much more than just a photo. How does your visual storytelling define your brand? They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, but in business, the right picture could be worth thousands of customers. The images you use in branding don't just represent you, they tell a story of who you are, what you do, and why people should care. Today, I'm joined by commercial photographer Douglas Burns to discuss how businesses can craft their brand story through powerful, intentional imagery. Welcome to the show.
Jen, it's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So, Douglas, we talk about brand photography a lot in business, and we've talked about it a little bit on the show before, but so many people think brand photography is just headshots or product images. It's really about telling a story visually. What does that mean and why is it so important?
Well, headshots are definitely a part of that story, right? So you want to be able to, at the bare minimum, showcase who's leading your team, who's at the top of the ticket, who are the guys who help put the products and services together that serve your customers on a daily basis. So headshots are definitely a part of that story, but it can be so much more. If you are selling a product, especially, you need quality product photography to showcase on your social media, on your website, on your brochures, your any sort of sales collateral. If you're selling a service, showcasing how that service benefits your clients, benefits your customers, that's invaluable. And that's all part of that branding aspect, so that we're telling your story to the people that you need to target and that you want to talk to.
Yeah, and so how can businesses that are or entrepreneurs who are watching today craft that consistent visual identity, or even where do they start? How do we make that determination? I'm going to give you for example, brand colors are something that are talked about, and colors mean different things. My brand is power, so I'm always in powerful colors. Like, how do people think about the visual identity of their business if they're watching today?
If you're already working with a marketing team, you probably have already worked and probably tweaked or redesigned your logo. The colors on your website are a good place to start. The colors that you're already utilizing. Hopefully, you've got a brand kit that you're working with or that you're developing. And brand kits, look, they evolve, they change over the years. I'll give you a quick for instance. I have had the pleasure of working with the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo for the last 25 years. Their brand colors have changed at least 4 times in that 25-year period. So brand colors do change, they do shift, depending on trends in the marketplace and whatnot. So don't feel like you're locked into something, but if you've got something that you're working with right now and you've established that brand, if we pick on McDonald's, for instance, red and yellow, you cannot, the golden arches, they're gonna be really hard. They've built their brand around that color scheme, right? It's a major part of who they are. United, blue and white, very definite color scheme. And if you look at all their imagery, they're going to implement that in everything that they do. So if you're working with a brand identity already, if you've got a brand kit already to work with, that's a great place to start. If you don't have that, then it's time to maybe pause, take a look, okay, who are we trying to target? What is our message? What colors are working already in our industry? If you're in the medical industry, for example, calming colors, especially blues, and cooler colors tend to predominate. So maybe staying something within that safety net is a good place to work as well.
Yeah, I know you work with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners. You work with a lot of teams and corporations. How do you help the people that you work with to determine what do they want their ideal client to see? How do you help them bring that out so that you can help them along this visual storytelling?
Well, I start with finding out what they're trying to say, right? Who are they currently targeting right now? Who is their ICP? Who's their ideal customer that they're trying to target? Once we know that, and once we know the story that they're trying to tell, and looking at whatever branding they're already currently working with, we can develop that story and develop those images. So if we're, let's pick on somebody who manufactures something. showcasing their people manufacturing the products that they're eventually going to sell. It's a big part of that, especially if they're working on a new product that's about to hit the marketplace, to show their team at work. But it's where are they along in that story? If that product's already on the marketplace and it's already launched, but they're trying to push that out, showcasing that product in a new environment, showcasing that product doing something that maybe we haven't seen before, or that we've seen before, but showing it in a new way, in a new direction. So here again, we got to start with what's our end goal in mind, and then we work backwards from there.
And you know, a lot of times we talk about brand imagery, and we think sometimes about how do we want to have our prospective clients feel? How are clients going to feel when they work with us? What are they going to see? What are they going to experience? How do you develop that through brand imagery?
That's a really good question. If you know where you're going, if you know what it is, if you're going for an emotional impact, knowing what that emotional impact would help determine. So if you're trying, a power play person, you're upfront, business oriented. We're going to be looking for something that's a little more a matter of fact on our messaging. If we're working in, let's say, the nonprofit world, which I know we're talking business, but let's pick on the nonprofits for a minute. That's definitely a place for more of an emotional impact. And if you're doing something in conjunction with a nonprofit, you're partnering with a nonprofit, having a more emotional connection to what it is that they're doing, and how it affects the community, how what you're doing is impacting the local community, at the same time benefiting your customer base. What kind of emotional impact do we want to have? So it's knowing what direction we want to go. And we'll design that session around there. So it's stepping back. And it may be something, we shoot something very simple and classic and clean, especially if it's more of a documentary approach. But at the same time, how we compose that image, maybe we need to see more of the scene than a traditional portrait environment, which is very clean on a singular individual or two. If we're seeing something where it's more environmental, we want to see your people interacting with that nonprofit or interacting with the community, so you can pull on those emotional heartstrings just a little bit. Of course, lighting plays a big part into this. We talked about color, we talked about composition, so it all blends in on what you're going to. But knowing what emotion you want to evoke, and then it's creating an environment on set that brings that emotion out.
I'm thinking a lot about television is like this, right? We talk about what do we want? How do we want to set the stage? How do we want to be formal? Do we want to be relaxed? What do we want as the feel for our show? And you're talking about a lot of the same concepts.
It's the exact same concept. And full clarity, my background's actually coming from broadcasting. So
well, there you go.
So this is where I got trained. This is and I still work in that world. But it's exact same thought processes. It's just the difference is when you're working in a video production or a broadcast. You're telling a story over time, a continual piece of time. 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, whatever the story length is. Whereas in photography, you're working in moments. You've got to freeze the frame and say this moment, whether you're capturing it or crafting it. And those are two different things, but they're both valuable. You got to do that same story in a singular image or in a collection of images over the course of say a longer story piece.
And I really like where the direction that you're going, because it's about, first we understand who our ideal client is. Then we understand who we are, what our values are, and what we're bringing, and the experience that our clients have when they work with us. And then communicating to someone such as yourself, hey, this is the experience that our clients have. Our clients have this kind of feeling and emotion when they come to us. This is their pain point. This is where we interact with them, and this is the emotion they have when we leave. And you're able to capture that how?
I'm trying to work and try to craft that versus capture that. And let me define what that difference is. When you're capturing something, usually you're at an event. I'll pick on weddings because it's easy and everybody knows what a wedding looks like. That's something you're not crafting very often. You're capturing something that's happening around you. And there's definitely times for that. Let's say you're doing something in the community at doing a PR piece or doing some community involvement. That's a time to capture what your team is working on. Crafting is taking a step back and really building that from the ground up. So that's where you're setting the stage, where you're really you're playing with what colors are everybody's going to wear, what everybody's wardrobe is going to look like. If you've got to show PPE, let's make sure the PPE is just right and it's on brand, and we're not showing any logos that may not need to be seen. Those are the types of things where we're crafting that, and now we're designing lighting that's going to work within that environment. So it comes back to, are we crafting an image or are we capturing an image? And both are valuable, both have their place, but what direction are we going? So if we're crafting an image, we have so much more latitude on what we can do, because we're basically playing. We're making something up within reason. They say the camera never lies. That's malarkey. The camera captures what's you placed in front of it. So if it's not in the image, if it's not in the frame, it doesn't exist. So we're creating a world that we can record photographically. But if we're capturing something, then we're looking at what's happening in front of us, and we're still thinking about those images that tell that story. But it's what is it? What's the focus of the image? What's the focus of the event? What's the focus of the day that needs to be captured and memorialized photographically?
Thank you so much in such a short period of time. I know we do have to take a brief break, but before we do, folks, this is an important conversation to have. It is time for you to look at your visual storytelling. When's the last time your headshots were updated? When's the last time you looked at your brand and asked yourself, do prospective clients, when they see my brand imagery, understand, see, feel, and know what it is to experience working with us or utilizing our product? If the answer is no, you're going to want to stick around, because we're going to dive even deeper with Douglas after these messages.